Hello Tesla Cats, this is Tesla-chan, or Lucy if you'd prefer, and welcome back to the channel. Now, this is going to be different from my normal content, as it's not a speed paint or a special recording or story time in the strictest of sense. Viewer discretion is highly advised, as there will be foul language, blood and gore mentions, abuse mentions, and other things that could potentially trigger those with those past experiences themselves. After all, this is my own little venture into a creepypasta fanfiction. If you feel so inclined to read along and you enjoy this type of stuff, congrats! You should be able to find the links to the story on both my DeviantArt and my Wattpad in the description down below. And I hope you will enjoy this little adventure with me. Now, shall we begin? I hope you're ready. Hunters of Ryzoth, Pasta Sauce, Prologue, Part 1, Halloween Request. Under the pale moonlight, a woman walks home, grumbling obscenities as she does. Her gait is filled with agitation and purpose. She wasn't able to complete a task that she wanted to, and now she had to reevaluate her plan. If the others hadn't singled in on that asswipe last time, she muttered loudly, he would have been dead by now. Oh, but no, he seems to be prime victim material for every pasta and their brother. And now he's buffed as security, so getting to him is going to be a challenge without getting police involved. She paused, heaving a sigh as she felt a smile tug at her lips. I do love a challenge, she said, seeming oddly relaxed now, and his screams will be worth it in the end. You really have changed, and not for the better, Celeste, chimed a voice that was all too familiar to the young woman. Father? She said, whipping around towards him with semi-surprise. You finally visit me after my disgrace 2 years ago now? The man looked at the young woman, some minor streaks of gray adorning his blonde hair. His eyes held an odd mixture of gentle kindness and sadness. They were a golden color. That point aside, I've got a request for you, he said, staring at the mask on his daughter's face. A request? Celeste almost laughed. If I'm a murderous failure and a disgrace, why should I care about an Esther's duty? I'm not one of you anymore. You made that clear. Nova. Her father tried to get a word in, but she interrupted. Why even try to make me feel loved? It's clear that I couldn't care less about my original job. So what, my dearest papa? She spat in anger and insane delight all at once. Her father remained silent for the briefest moment. Before he spoke up, you may not be allowed to return to us. That said, I wouldn't have come to you if I had any alternative. She stalked up to him, making sure she was reading him correctly. His voice sounded tired. He even sounded a bit desperate. Nova pulled her mask back to look at her father's eyes more properly. Her fair skin made her glowing eyes pop more so, and they seemed to swirl slowly like a black hole sucking things into the center. Her father didn't seem to jump at this action from her, as he knew she wouldn't just attack him somehow. Nova backed up, enough to allow her father to loosen his stance once more. So, she said, pulling the mask off of her head the rest of the way, you can't just send more Asters to try to rectify what's going on? As she stated this, she leaned against a nearby tree, holding the mask with her arms crossed underneath her boobs. Her father stared at her for a moment, seeming to be a bit surprised that she was even asking. Does this mean... he asked, seeming to sound somewhat hopeful. You know I can't tell you that, she said, her gaze coming from the corner of her eye. Not until I understand why me, of all people. Her father seemed to sigh, but he knew he wasn't going to get anywhere with her without a reason. She stayed still, seeming to wait for him to explain himself, all while gently swinging her mask in her loose grip. "You are aware people are beginning to hunt down killers and demons in your group, correct?" he asked, watching his daughter to read her. Nova hummed, seeming curious about this revelation. He watched her and said, "There are human hunters trying to take out all manner of creepypastas. They say they're doing it out of the need to protect people." "It seems to me they're doing what our kind would do if we wanted to keep people safer," Nova retorted, wondering what the point of bringing this up was. Her father took a step towards her and replied, "That's just it. They're trying to protect people, but in doing so, these hunters have raised some concerns. They have taken asters that haven't done anything, and found a way to mind control and trap all manner of demon, ghost, and creature. What's more, they seem to be wanting to revive something they could never control to fulfill their goals." As soon as her father brought up these facts, she seemed to be more focused. Her full face was turned towards him, and she seemed to be surprised that things were getting this bad. Asters tried to keep a balance by trying to keep more evil things and events from hurting specific individuals. They had never once been imprisoned by humans, nor had they tried to enslave anyone. No matter the motives of said person. "Enslaved pastas, enslaved asters," she repeated back in surprise. "What are they trying to bring back to aid them?" Her father seemed hesitant to answer this question, to start at least. When she began to open her mouth, her father finally spoke. "I do believe you've heard of Ryzoth." A pulse of heat filled the area as her eye twitched. "Nova?" her father asked with confusion, despite her seeming to be surrounded by a minor blue glow. "Yes," she hissed, feeling an unadulterated rage that caused her tirade 2 years ago. "A primordial demon who was destroyed in an ancient war. It loves fear, blood, and destruction above all else, and yet people still try to play with things they hardly understand." Her voice shook with insanity and rage. Her father took a step back in shock. His daughter was claimed to be a monster on the day she broke. Only now could he actually believe it. The anger began to subside when she took note of his fear. A weirdly calm smile crossed her lips. "Forgive me. My only memories of this thing come from Willow's murderer," she said, in a horrifyingly even tone. "So you know something about the demon Ryzoth, then?" Her father swallowed dryly. "Then you know if they succeed, things will end ahead of their time, and with more pastas being captured, there won't be enough strength to prevent his destruction." Nova was suddenly brought back into the moment again. She blinked, still containing her anger from the prior revelation. "Strength to be... Excuse me, what?" she asked. Her father looked at her. "Yes, there is a strange agreement between asters and pastas, as our roles often do mean we run into each other. Pastas aren't to kill us, and we will be asked to aid in certain events. Though, with new members of their ranks, I'm not entirely sure who remembers that agreement." "So outside of Ryzoth, the hunters in this agreement, what does this favor have to do with me?" Nova asked. "I know this should be obvious. That said, I can't read your mind, and I don't want to." Her father chuckled lightly, seeming to become less frightened of this situation now that she seemed more stable. "These concerns and the fact that our kind gets caught up in being trapped by these hunters means that we need someone who can look into it from the perspective of your kind. We need someone who can rally those who aren't being controlled and someone to warn them, and hopefully prevent the destruction of everything." She watched her father as he began to trail off under her gaze. It surprised her that the great Aster race needed an exiled member to aid them. What was more annoying than surprising was the fact that she needed to play emissary and soldier all at once. That this might finally bring her some form of closure involving Willow made her feel like her head was spinning. "Can I have some time to mull it over?" she said in defeat, as she felt like she couldn't just say no. Her father nodded. "You'll have to make a decision quickly, though. Say a week, maybe even less than that. I'll return then." She nodded, watching the gentle glow that emanated from him fade away. After he left, she felt annoyed. "He always did put her coat first," she grumbled swiftly, pushing off at the tree to head home. She pulled the mask back over her face as she marched home in frustration. She wondered why she should even bother. People died all the time, demons were summoned, and she often still killed, making her not much better. That said, he definitely seemed to have changed for the better. "He didn't even demand that this is for his sanity," she'd said, approaching the abandoned house. "He didn't even say I was a failure." She thought about these changes as her hand hovered over the doorknob. She shook her head in minor agitation, slamming the door behind her in the process. She chucked her mask and hoodie into the chair before going up the stairs to sleep off the anger from Halloween night. I do so hope you liked the first part of Hunters of Ryzoth. If you did, remember to leave a like, subscribe, share, leave me a comment. And if you really enjoyed it, there's a couple requests I will ask of you. 1. Send me some requests for creepypastas to incorporate into the story. 2. Please share this with your friends or create your own fan art. And 3. Come back again next Sunday when I post the next part. I'll have had all 3 of them recorded by then. And until next time, remember to keep on keeping on. Goodbye.